Welcome, creatives, community, and kind folks to RPG with DBJ. I'm your host, DBJ, and we are going to end today with many of my anecdotal best practices when trying to break into the game design, tabletop RPG publishing economy. And of course, these are from my own experiences. I'm sure you can learn a lot from these. This is just, again, from my particular experiences. And of course, on the screen, these are two more projects that I worked with Critical Hit Publishing. It may do some flip through, but I distracted myself because I was like, yeah, let me give the people a little bit more detail into how I was able to break in by spending a minimum, if no money, and trying to become a career-oriented person in this gaming field, and a lot of mistakes that I made along the way, which means that I'm not as successful as I would like to be. But real life is always front and center, and so we're going to talk about that one as well. So let's get through the intro and then get into the nitty gritty of game design. Again, welcome everyone. At the end of the broadcast, I will maybe do some page throughs, but the particular book is called Abominations, and it is a 5th edition aligned book, and it's based on, as the cover will give you, The Lich, and it's how many pages is this book? 100 pages, and it talks about different types of liches and the magical foci that you can give them, and histories and adventures and things of that nature. And then this one is called Adventure Keys, Volume 1. I believe there are 12, maybe 15 adventures, 12 adventures in here. And this was written by collaboration between me and Alex and Rob of Critical Hit Publishing, and each adventure itself has numerous options so that you can mix and match and change them up. I believe we went to a rule of 3, so there's different characters, hooks and goals, trappings, changes, twists, and things like that. Yeah. 5th edition adjacent. Yeah, I know. All right, but that's not the important thing. We're going to get into best practices, and I can give as much or as little detail as you would like. So I'd like to get through these a little quickly and then go back. And if you guys have any questions, or you would like to hear some specificity in why I think this is a best practice, just let me know. So yeah, these are basically my personal do's and don'ts that I've learned. And I will tell you that the reason I'm saying these is because it doesn't necessarily mean that I was successful in doing all these things, but I found out, like, after the fact, like, ooh, maybe I should have done this other thing. So, and again, these are in no particular order. So, save and keep everything, even your worst. One, the more artistic you are, the more you want to focus on perfection, the greater chance you have of wanting to toss away, throw away, delete, eradicate, ignore your very worst. And you don't want to do that. There's actually a lot of value in finding out the thing that you really don't want to do any longer, whether you are painting minis, or you're a 3D printer, or you're trying to do layout, or something like, whatever the case may be. Your worst writing, your worst development, your worst tabletop role-playing game you designed or something. Keep everything, and save and keep it. Don't know where you're going to keep it, but save and keep everything. Another reason is that you As you grow, you may be rising above your worst, but there are people below your worst level that may find your worst to be very, very intriguing. Um, Also, this is going to go into our second point here. Um, by keeping everything, it shows others how much productivity you have. So, an example would be if you're writing a screenplay or you have a draft of your favorite setting that you wanted to make, when someone or you want to go to someone or someone wants to come to you and ask you about it, say, hey, have you done anything else? You can show them, if you saved everything, well, here are 6 other settings that I wrote, and I decided to toss them away. But because I didn't like them or didn't finish them or whatever, but they're stacked on the side. I don't think they're very good. And someone else can look at you and go, oh, wait a minute, but there's something we can salvage from these other things you've done. Whereas if you only have one in hand or everything's up in your head, it doesn't sell very well. Which goes to our second point, which is create a legacy repository, a space others can see your work, a resume of sorts. And the reason for that about saving and keeping everything and then creating a repository is because sometimes words, it's difficult for those of us in the gaming community. We tend to not have very high social skills. And words sometimes don't mean very much, but if you can show the work, then there's a good chance that you can collaborate with others, be invited to do things. And it's the reason why I mentioned before about why the worst writers in Hollywood always get work. And it's because I bet that those writers that always get work um, have a long arm uh, of work that they've done and kept around and have in their back pocket. And when others want to hire you or collaborate with you, what they really want to see is that you can do the work and you're focused enough to continue to do the work time and time again. Um, the greatest writer or artist or director or whatever that does one thing and only has one thing to show for it, people may look at them and go, I don't know. This is a second project. They haven't even shown me a second project. I don't know if I want to hire them. It's the classic, you need experience to get to work here. And the person says, but I don't have any experience. That's why I want to work here. It's very similar to that. It also proves that you can, in many endeavors, you have to push through an invisible membrane to get to the other side. And normies tend to give up to push through that membrane. And a lot of times that membrane is personal. So those barriers that prevent us from doing things, the greatest opponent you will ever fight is yourself. Whether it comes to procrastination or perfection or imposter syndrome or anything like that, it's pushing through. It's much like how online, how uh, individuals will comment and have negative comments about people who have these small YouTube channels. Talking about myself here, and will have negative comments. And the thing is that though many of those individuals don't have YouTube channels, right? It's putting the camera up and recording yourself or getting your editing software and putting some videos out, even if they're the worst. You gotta have a place where people can go see what you have. Another best practice to when it getting into game design is ask to collaborate. The worst answer is no. Also respect no. So uh, and this runs hand in hand. So if you want to work with someone or you're interested in being part of a project or you have a great idea and someone else has a complementary skill, the worst thing you could ever get is just no. If you ask someone, hey, can we work together, and they say no, and usually the no is followed by a couple of it's like no but dot dot dot, right? Very rarely will you get a hell no door slammed. And even if that happens, so what? Also, you have to respect the no. So, yes, I do understand that there is a bit of like, um, don't take no for an answer. That's not necessarily true. You should respect people's opinions, whether you like their opinion or not. Respect their answer, and then later on, you can come back and go, "Hey, it's been 8 months. I've done these things. Hey, I'd really like to collaborate." And that person goes, "Huh? What? Who did you work with again? You know what? I told you no before. Maybe I made a mistake or something." They that person could change your mind, or maybe you just don't want to work with them ever again. But respect the no. Don't get an attitude. Don't get upset. Just go, "Oh, okay. Well, sorry to bother you, but thank you very much. Is there anything?" And you could always, one of the best things to do for yourself is when speaking with people who have a bit more success than you, if you want to measure it as success or failure, is to ask, like, have get an honest response. Hey, is there anything I could have done different? Or, um, I know you're telling me no now. Do you think you might have an opening in the future? Or, what are you looking for exactly? You told me no, which is fine, and I understand. Are you? Do you think I need more experience or whatever? Get some nuance out of it. Get some additional information. Uh, bu- 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 You're so funny. Yeah, but I thought one the thing that brings joy. Oh man, that's so funny. Destroy what kills you. Fight yourself. Yeah, yeah. Haters without channels of their own are hilarious. And you know what? I mean, listen. I respect people's opinions, but it is kind of funny when people are just like, "You're only saying that because you have a YouTube channel." I'm just like, "Yeah, that's exactly right." Nothing's preventing others from doing the exact same thing. And yeah. Even better. Yeah, there are YouTube channels filled with nothing but other people's stuff. Yeah, I see those channels and all their entire channel is just filled with like negative nanny stuff on other people's stuff. It's like, really? I get the marketing for that, but yeah. All right. Here's another one. Your writing sucks. Rest assured, your writing sucks. And this is about game design. Okay. Um, the reason why I say that is because there's there's a book called The Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and and part of it is sometimes we can smell our own shit and think it smells like a floral arrangement, right? We need to get past the fact that we think we are or doing something better than somebody else, and understand that no matter how many no matter how much you write, your writing is going to suck. It just will. So you need to find an editor that can do two passes on grammar and style. Finding one of the hidden arts of great writing, or actually great art of any type, is having a great editor. Now, when I say an editor, like, it could be for dance, it could be for acting and jokes, it could be for most artistic endeavors, but in our field, it's about basically writing. And understand that you might vomit out a masterpiece of sorts, and you throw it out there and you're like, "I just wrote down 10,000 words, this is my best stuff ever." And in your own head it is, but when other people read it, they're just like, what is this? What? I don't understand. And unfortunately, here's the reality of the situation. um your writing may actually be phenomenal, and people will still say it sucks. Okay. And what I mean by that is that your tonality, the phrasing, the pacing, the way you write things may be appropriate for a niche group of people that think exactly like you. And those individuals will get it. They'll get it every single time. They'll read it. They'll go, yeah, oh, this is great. And in your own zone, your own circle, you'll get the slow claps, and everyone's like, yeah, and you're like, this is sweet. And then you want to give it out to the rest of the world. And yes, the rest of the world might be uh, lowest common denominator. The rest of the world may have desires and functions that are different than yours, and so it's you need to understand: are you writing for yourself? Because you can write for yourself and design your own heartbreaker, or are you writing to for the masses? And if you're writing for the masses, it unfortunately it means that there might be quite a bit of like you know um you know those $5 expensive words that I tend to throw around on my channel. Might have to get rid of some of those. Um, those long, eloquent prose and um, flavor text that you like to throw in every page and a half or so. You might have to get rid of that, and that's where an editor comes in. An editor that doesn't really care about your feelings, and an editor that hell you may not even personally would like to associate yourself with. Those make great editors. And the reason why is because an editor should be able to do two passes. One is for grammar. That's very simple. Yes, we have spell check, and yes, we have grammar things. But when you're writing fantasy and science fiction, a lot of times spell check and grammar checking won't catch everything. Um, and rest assured, if you write lots of words, you start heading past 10,000 words plus, and you're cresting 50,000. We get eye blind. Writers get eye blind with mistakes and repetitive words and um, uh, dry tonality or switching between third person and first person and present tense and past tense. So grammar for an editor, yes, you need someone neutral who doesn't quite they're not invested in your as much invested in your success as they are invested in the work that they do. The second one is style, pacing, changing it up. Are you making too many negative references? Like, don't do this. This sucks. This game is terrible. Don't do. Are you doing that too much? Maybe you're praising the consumer too much. This is great. This would be best. This is someone can come in and go, yeah, your tone and your style, your mood, your tensing doesn't fit with what you're trying to accomplish. Here is a better thing. Are there AI systems that you can plug in your words to? Hey, good morning. Salam as well. Yes, you can. You can find those things. Shai says, you suck responses from people with no channels are the best. You can go full existential in their ass. How about human beings are human doings and they are nothing, ergo they are nothing. Yeah. I've I've cultivated a channel. I don't get as many negative responses as I used to. So yeah. Grammar editor for Andrew Wood. That was a fun job. Yeah. Yeah, because he could hey, you ever go if you tried to edit his channel, it'd be like, oh shit. Yeah, Drew says I'm over 70,000 words at the moment, even though I rework large parts of my character creation. Yeah, and you know what? That's going to happen. Oh, Drew, we're going to get into another part here that I think is going to fit directly into what you just said. Um, game designers must wear multiple hats, and here's the worst part: and have skills having nothing to do with game design. Yeah, there's something about game designer and if you've ever seen Kickstarters and some of the we hear the horror stories about Kickstarters, and in one of the Facebook groups I've had a legacy with. It used to be the RPG Brigade. It shut down. There's a Absolute Tabletop, and the people that were in there, and there was a gentleman named Lloyd Collins. He did a game called Iskloth. It was it's actually a pretty brilliant game about uh, severely hacking away at fifth edition and turning it into a Viking warrior emulator. And I think it's actually pretty brilliant. But he did a Kickstarter for it, and it was just himself. And it took him a long time, and he had underestimated the amount of time and effort and production, things like that. And basically says that he was soiled um, on the whole thing, that he would never do it again. And the reason is because being a game designer, we think is, hey, I'm going to get the math right, and I'm going to make a setting, and everyone's going to love my stuff. And that's not really what it is. You're going to need to learn aspects of other people's full-time jobs that they get paid good money to do: marketing, layout, art, editing, project managing, logistics, social media, accounting, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, yeah. Hell's yes. Yeah, I need a Prince Charming or a princess is also fine by me to rescue me from all these hats I don't want to wear. Oh my God. People think it's easy. Like there's a myth out there that if you make it, they will come, right? If you create something excellent, it's easy to produce that thing and make it um exciting and new and brilliant and stuff. That is not the case. That is not the case. Um there are great artists out there that we will never know about. There are musicians and dancers and comedians and whatnot. Yeah, it says you said getting the math right to make a non-broken balanced game is hard as fuck, and you had to start all over in Obsidian, right? Yep, I did that to myself, and you can't look backwards, right? Sometimes getting all these things perfect is horrible. So, I mean, just marketing itself means that you have to promote yourself. That is there are people who get paid full time. There are agencies whose only job is to monitor and get your social media accounts up. I mean, just social media itself is a full-time industry unto itself. But it also means that, and some of these things uh rub each other. Um some of these things, yeah, game designers must wear multiple hats and be competent in skills having nothing to do with game design. Uh can you imagine the logistics it takes to ship out, I don't know, 50,000 books around the world and ensure that everyone gets their book in a timely fashion, including how much it costs to get them there, um, along with people who have decided to but then bow out at the end. Sometimes people move or they put the incorrect information in and they think it's your fault, but it really isn't. And you have to respond back. And then now you're responding to 37 emails that you didn't expect to have to respond to because this is intruding on your editing process because you're trying to get these last pages done. It's a whole thing. Whole thing. Um, yeah. Here's some other best practices. The project is more important than you. Slay your darlings and heartbreakers, right? Yes, I know I'm mixing two separate things. Slay your darlings is a term normally associated with television and movies, where you write or film a scene in a movie, and then you realize you have to edit that great scene out because it breaks the flow, or it removes it short circuits the pacing, or there are many actors and actors slash actresses, actors that have been in television and movies that have been completely edited out when they realize that, hey, in the edit, this storyline didn't matter. And those individuals were removed. The first one I can think of is there was supposed to be a love interest in the movie Constantine with the Keanu Reeves movie version of Constantine, and that there was a demon lady he had a romantic relationship with or something, and that actress was completely edited out of the movie. So heartbreakers, on the other hand, are we often call it's also referred to as a fantasy heartbreaker, and that is like I'm going to rewrite Dungeons and Dragons the way I think it should be done. And a lot of those are called fantasy heartbreakers because it's no matter how brilliant you think it is, other people come along and they go, "Yeah, isn't this just Dungeons and Dragons? I'll just play Dungeons and Dragons." And uh, there's a gentleman with a channel called Me, Myself, and Die, and he's even calling his own game Broken Empires. He's running a Kickstarter or backer kit for it, or something. I can't remember which one. And he even is calling it himself a heartbreaker, um, self-deprecatingly, and it could be. He's teamed up with some pretty notable individuals. Kelsey Dion for Shadow Dark, and Professor Dave Thalmavor from his channel is a great review channel, and Professor Dungeon Master and some others, and whatnot. So, but yeah, but it is funny because yeah, it could be a fantasy heartbreaker. Let me go through another two or three of these. I'll get back to your comments here because I can't see them, unfortunately. Be honest to a fault. This means being honest to yourself, being honest to others, being honest to people you work with, being honest with other collaborators, being honest on social media. Be honest to a fault. It's going to hurt to be that honest, but you got to be honest. You got to be honest with deadlines. You got to be honest with um, your direction. You have to be honest with your knowledge capabilities. You have to be not honest with what you know and don't know, and to a fault, right? And what I mean by that is someone may say, "Hey, do you know what was it? Okay, I worked with N World, and they use Trello, which is a project managing um, um, software media kind of app thing, whatever. And it's called Trello. Some of you may have heard of it. At the time, I had never even heard of a thing called Trello, and Trello is like an organizational app thing, and it's very useful for uh, people who are um, working from home, working together to kind of collaborate. And we would have these like Trello boards, and you'd log in and you'd see who's next up on the Trello board, and certain projects would get finished. Now that I've used it, I'm okay. But when they asked me, I was like, I've never seen it before. They were like, no, it's like this and the other thing. And I had to tell them like, no, I need to be honest with you. I have zero idea what the hell you're talking about. I'm at ground zero. I'm a child. So explain it to me that way. And they were like, oh, okay. And mind you, they weren't offended. They were just like, oh, I got to explain it to you literally from ground zero. And I'm like, yes. I don't mean I'm tangentially related to it. I'm telling you, I have zero idea what you're talking about. And I need to catch up very quickly. And then somebody said, all right. And they pulled me aside and we did a little Zoom thing or whatever. And they showed me. And I was like, okay, that's cool. They were very accommodating. Some people may not be. You got to understand what that means, right? Um, Sometimes there are layout restrictions. For example, if you go to, um, if I work in Google Docs, but I've had to learn how to use like Word. Sometimes people want to use other methods to arrange the work together, and just be honest about like, when I transferred my file from here to here, all my layout just went, all my indents, all my my numbers, my charts, my artwork it went out of line. I don't know how to fix it, and someone may come in and go, oh, I know what you can do. Just do this, click this, and find out. So be honest if you don't know shit. Um, mm. Also, goes on this next part: time over art. Meet deadlines, not perfection. So if it meant something, and I'm super guilty of this, the greater we love our art, the greater propensity we have of it never being perfect. And when it comes to producing things for the masses, it's always about time. It's always about deadlines. It's almost never about perfection. Very few books, movies, scripts, dance routines, songs, whatever, are ever finished by the artist. You just have to meet a deadline, and that's another reason why CGI doesn't look good. Um, a certain TV show's writing is terrible. It's not because they're actually terrible at writing. They had to meet a deadline. More often than not, especially when it comes to CGI, computer graphics, it's about deadlines. It's not really about skill. Give them enough time, yeah, they'll go, oh, I can make this fluid, dynamic thing look perfect. But if they tell you you've got 3 days, and you're like, I need 3 weeks, and you get the proverbial Star Trek, Scotty, how much time do you need? Give me 3 hours. I need it done in an hour. Click. you know, get your ass down there and fix the engines now, right? And it's usually time over art. And so, more often than not, your game design is going to have to meet a deadline to get it done. And does that mean you might find faults in there? Yeah. That's often why when you see a game and you see that heavy errata, it's probably because they had to meet a deadline. And sometimes the deadlines are not conducive to the way you want to create what you want to create. So deadlines may include getting something out before a holiday, or getting it out because of a fiscal year, or getting something produced because we know that the prices are going to go up because of shipping costs, or a logistics or warehouser is going to have letting you know that by April they have a contract with someone else that's going to fill up their distribution, and you need to get this done and produced and printed, and boxed into their warehouse before a certain date or something like that. There's all kinds of deadlines. Someone you're collaborating with is having a child or moving, or someone got sick, sent your deadline behind by 6 weeks, and now you got to catch up. So there's lots of ways that deadlines come in that have nothing to do with your art. And so it's time over art. And I'm victim of that because I have a job where, especially this season, I don't know on a daily basis. When I start work, I don't know when I'm getting off, and it's been that way for 32 years. When we get into the holiday season, the gift giving season, October, November, December, especially November, December, those last 6 weeks of the year are horrible, to the point where it might be 6-7 days a week. It could be 12-hour plus days. I start work and I don't know when I'm getting off. And usually we start an hour or two early, which is why there are many times when I've had to shut the channel down because I got to be at work at 6 in the morning. So I'm getting up at the crack of ass and trying to get to work. And so, yeah, there's that. There's a lot of that. So let me get to your comments here because I'm ignoring them and I don't want to do that. Daryl says, I'm considering using Ars Magica, the no OGL, for the magic system in my game. A lot of people seem to favor that system. Ooh, yeah. Oh, where did I see? Did I get? Let me see if I can find. Let's see if I can pull this up here. Can I go to it? Atlas Games. Is there a link? No, I may just have to show this to you. So, for those who don't know, there was, and I really didn't know this, or I wasn't following it very closely. Atlas Games owns Ars Magica. I've heard it pronounced Ars Magica, Magica, but whatever the case may be, I like it, Ars Magica. A classic game of Wizards that has a brilliant magic system in it that the gentleman that runs the Me, Myself, and Die semi-solo RPG YouTube channel is borrowing from the Ars Magica magic system, and I'm surprised more people haven't done it. Well, that system now is in a Creative Commons share-alike license, and if I'm not mistaken, it's possible they may put up to 60 books into the Creative Commons for Ars Magica, and that is brilliant. If you haven't played this game or know what it's about, and I should do a review. I don't own the game though. Shit. Maybe I'll pick it up. Well, once it gets in Creative Commons, I can share it easily. But yeah, it's on BackerKit. The Myth and Magic of Ars Magica is now free. Yeah, the Ars Magica Definitive Edition crowdfunding featuring an expansive 600-plus page full-color book met its funding goal in only 3 minutes and serves as a launching pad for this groundbreaking initiative. An early stretch goal within the campaign unlocked the standard 5th edition core rulebook's text and setting as open license, and the expanded definitive edition text was close behind. And then it goes on to all these other things in Spanish and things like that. If the entire Ars Magica line is unlocked by the campaign's close on November 14th at 8 p.m. Central, then the Creative Commons content will include over 60 books plus supplementary materials. The campaign ends November 14th at 8 p.m. Central. And then here are links. There we go. There we are. Shipping costs and taxes for all the different countries. The horror. Yeah, but you'd be surprised how some Kickstarters have gotten themselves some Kickstarters backer kits have gotten themselves in trouble because of they didn't calculate the cost of shipping. And when you get a heavy book, like, I've got a hardback book, but I think most people are going to get the PDF, and then everyone puts in for the hardback book. You got to pay for that. So yeah, if you don't include that, and you don't do a generalization, or you have someone who's very good at accounting to account for that, you can get in a lot of trouble, which delays your shipping. And some people complain because they got their book 2 months later because you didn't account for the fact that you would have to ship so many books, which takes up more space because you thought people would get the PDF instead. Yeah. I heard Winston Zedmore and the Ghostbusters got edited down to bare bones after they switched editors, and Eddie Murphy ended up not playing them. That kind of stuff happens all the time. All the time. That's why contractually, when it comes to like movies and scripts and things, you want it built into your contract that you have final edit. Everybody wants final edit. Everybody in the industry wants final edit. A lot of times, we erroneously blame actors for terrible writing or terrible, portrayals, but the final edit comes in when the visual editors there, or the music editors, or the ADR editors, or the script writers and things like that. They edit what the actors say. People that put out death threats to actors, I think is ridiculous. It's so stupid. Trevor Duvall's Broken Empires. That's his name. Trevor Duvall. I'm familiar with the channel, but not his name. But yep, Broken Empires. They cut 90% of his dialogue, and Ernie Hudson was so pissed. That happens a lot. You can get I don't know if you guys heard about the fake script that was given to Halle Berry when she played Storm in one of the X-Men movies. I think it was the Brett Ratner movie. Anyway, they literally wrote a script that had her front and center, and gave her lots of stuff to do, showed her the script, and then threw it away just to get her to write to sign the contract. And then when she got there, she was written out. Not written out, but got put down to secondary duty again. Yeah. Yeah, being honest to a fault over not liking friends' ideas is hard as fuck. Yeah, you are correct, but you have to be honest. Now here's the thing. You also have to be somebody you can work with, right? That's why I wrote in here, be value added. You got to be value added. So anyway, you have to know your worth, and I put this down: know your worth, and no one knows what that is, with a question mark. And the reason for that is, to be honest with you, nobody knows what that is, including yourself and everybody else. So an example would be, how much should a PDF cost of a book? And you could say, well, it depends on how many pages, depends on how much art. It may depend on how much work you think you put into it. The answer to that question is, I don't know. Is it $25? Is it $5? Is it $65? American US? I don't know. And the problem is, not only does no one else know what your worth is, that value will move up and down literally on a moment by moment basis. That is why those in the entertainment industry have a far more difficult time assessing their value, or it seems like their value is assessed more than it is for us, which is why, how we always get upset that sports players get paid so much money, but maybe mathematically they go, listen, my presence brings 85,000 people into the stadium. I should get $1 at least for every single person that showed up to see me. It's not my ability to perform the sport, it's how many people do I put in the seats. They're here to see me. Give me $1 for everybody that shows up. I want $85,000 per game. Multiply that by, I don't know, 15 games in a season. That's my final offer, right? Like you could mathematically do it like that. Or you can say, this particular thing, I don't think it's worth that much, $5. This other thing that I worked on that I spent 15 years building, that's $70. Now, other people may not agree with that worth, and that's true. But this is one of the know your worth thing is very difficult to assess, because the industry will tell you what that means. And then you have to decide whether you think you agree with that, because no one else really knows, right? We get a lot of people who will make their own assumption of what they think something is worth, and they don't know what went into it. They don't know what, what drive-through RPG, right? You go to drive-through and someone orders. I'm fiddling my hardback book here. There's a minimum cost of this book before I even make a dime off of it. And you may not agree what that minimum cost is, or what I think I should receive in compensation for having written it, but I have to make a decision on that. If the minimum cost in this book is $5 and I want to make a profit, do I move it up $3? Do I move it up another $5? Also, other people helped me with this. The art, the layout, the editing, they got to get paid too, right? And so, yeah, it's knowing your worth is going to be very difficult for someone, and it can be difficult, especially if you have a number in your head. I put this: wear armor and carry shield. Wear armor and carry shield. Negative comments will be launched. Don't feed trolls. Don't focus on the negative nannies. I learned this from N-World. One of the difficult things to navigate are the negative structures that are going to come around your creation. And what I mean by that is, you're going to get a lot of people who just don't like what you're doing. What I learned from N-World, and you may not agree with this, but it works for them, is that you not only do you never respond to negative comments, but you also now don't market towards those negative comments. So an example would be, someone may say, let's say your game your role-playing game has very little, if any, combat in it. It is a combat light game. It is extremely um, subjective, right? It's like roll a die, reduce a number, you're done. It doesn't take into account any details about combat, really. It's just roll a number, whoever gets the highest roll wins, or something dumb like that, right? And someone comes up and they have a comment, and they're like, your combat system sucks. I hate it. I like one with more detail, right? Too often we will concern ourselves with the fly that lands on our bowl of ice cream. And once the fly lands on our bowl of ice cream, we want to throw the whole bowl of ice cream away because the fly landed on it. Now, technically, the fly landed on one little soft spot, and you can still eat it, but it turns our stomachs, right? We're like, did a bug just land on our food? I don't want to eat it at all. And yeah, when working with N-World, they were like, yeah, don't design for those people. You're not marketing to those people. Those people aren't going to buy your game in the first place. And N-World basically told everybody, you can't design towards the negative comment because they're not going to buy it. Those are the people who don't want your thing. They're against it. They're just there to get their dopamine high by telling you that they don't like the thing. It's and we have whole YouTube channels based on like the system sucks, that thing is terrible, those people are horrible, blah blah blah. And you don't want to feed, not only do you not want to feed the trolls to keep the negative comments going, but also they're not going to, unless they're going to hate buy your materials, and like they're going to help promote your product by having other people buy it just to hate it, which is horrible, but you'd still get paid. I can't even imagine it happening. Some people are just never going to like what you're doing, and that's fine. Ignore them and make your game for the people who want it. And so, and now mind you, here's the difficult part of that, right? Some people love what you're doing, but they're being critical about it because they want it to be the best it can be. That is a difficult line to trace, because there are many people who want the best out of the thing, and they are being critical, air quotes negative, on purpose because they want to see the best it could be. And navigating that is very tricky. It's very difficult to do. So yeah. There's some others in here I can't remember, but yeah, there's a lot of these things. Did I put down B value added? There it is. I forgot this one, but let me get into what you guys have to say. Deadline's a natural enemy of depression. Yeah. I'm just glad I'm capable to make any progress in my system. Yep. I won't back a book over 400 pages, though. It's neither functional at the table nor light enough for the coffee table. Yeah. Figuratively and literally. Yeah. Although, what is there? I think there's a game called Tolus, and it's like a setting book that's like 600 plus pages or more, something like that. It's like some people say that it could block like a 22 a bullet or something. It's 700 I don't know. How many pages is not tell us. I can't find it. I was trying to find it, but I think Monty Cook wrote it with some other people. She should have stormed off the set. Why didn't I catch that immediately? Shai says, I ended up fully committed to quite a few projects I thought were not a good idea. Oh, man. Shai says, sadly, Andrew Wood's novel was one of them. Yeah. It's difficult to. Yeah. I've done. I've thought about being like going far more literary, like doing like short stories, novellas, and things like that. And then I showed them all. I deleted it. Like no. Yeah, creativity is subjective, and everyone wants free content. They sure do. Yeah, knowing your worth is. People should get paid for their art. I agree with that. And unfortunately, when it comes to the value of a thing, if you make it free, people will treat it like it's free, right? And which means they'll treat it like shit. Never confuse your worth with your product's worth, though. I do agree with that. I never. I hope I didn't mean that I was making the case that what you maybe my wording was incorrect. So I apologize for that. It's not your worth. I mean this in a game design context. I don't mean that in a socio um, uh, uh, political context of culture. I don't mean you as a person. I mean you as in terms of designing things in this space. Woo, baby, I got that. Yeah, Mateo says, or has gotten free content. Yeah. Product design is the focus. Yeah. Ooh, ignoring negative feedback is a great way to get the Homer mobile. Yeah, Homer designed that automobile. Yeah. Well, that's not negative feedback. Um what you want is um is a critique, not negative comments, because people negative comments are like assholes. Everybody's got them. What you want is a critique, right? So when people say they don't like something, um we had many project meetings in N World. There was like 30 plus of us, and we met in like groups of 3 to 5. And one of the things that was very, very much impressed upon us was when someone says they don't like something and they don't follow it up, that comment is actually useless. It's actually worse than someone saying it's more useless than someone saying, meh, it's okay. I mean, it's fine. It actually tells you less, because when someone says they don't want something, they're not interested in what you're doing, and they're not rebutting with a constructive criticism on how to make the thing better, or at least to make it more palatable to them, right? So the game that you're designing that doesn't have combat, and they're saying your game would be perfect if it did have combat, is the kind of individual that you may not be marketing towards anyway. Like you may be saying, yes, you think my game would be better with a fully fleshed out combat system, but my game is not focused on that thing. And going back to the honesty part, you may say, and I don't want to design that thing, and I can't design that thing, right? Says, or don't ignore them. A lot of knee-jerk haters are so stupid. Everything they post is a veritable self-own. Yeah, everybody laughs at them, and it ends up promoting whatever it is you're doing, which is possible too. It could have the opposite, right? Yeah. I hope I'm usually in a critical crowd. Even when I realize a product will not be for me, I still try to bring up constructive criticism and wish them the best of luck, even if a game is not for me. That's how I am, right? Like I'm all for Trevor Duvall's um, Broken Empires, but I've kind of moved away from the simulationist. And he's calling it Simlight, which is funny because that terminology is starting to spread throughout the community itself, which is kind of cool. Because I think we could use some more differentiations. But like if you know Mithras, and I've played RuneQuest and Mithras before, and it is detailed. Like it's about like wound locations and hit locations. You got hit in the upper shoulder. Do you have armor on your upper shoulder? Reduce it by 2 points. 3 points penetrated it, and blah blah blah. It's a whole thing like that. Yeah, lots of tables to refer to and stuff. Yeah, and yeah, I think you could do a great novel if you gave it a whole lot of time for every single segment to mature. Ander writes as fast as he thinks, enormous output, but ends up being confusing as fuck. Yeah. I am an outline writer. I'm an architect, not a gardener. So I tend to be more, my speaking voice, my intonations and stuff is more scatterbrained, because like I say, I like to do this. I don't have time to script things out, and I kind of don't want to. But when I write, I'm an outline writer. So, and I like to overproduce. So if I have to write 500 words, I'll usually write about 1,500 words, and then and either myself or somebody else or a combination just edit that shit down to 500 words and I'm done. So I don't hold on too heavy to those kind of things. So yeah, like if I were to write a novel that's 500 pages, I'd probably push it to like 1,200 pages of material, and then I don't mean all at once, but I'd probably end up writing about 12 to 1,500 pages of material and then having it edited down to a reasonable moment, even if it means like editing out whole characters or storylines or side quests and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I gave negative feedback during the STA first edition beta, which they ignored until they finally took it in second edition. And here's the thing. Yeah, yes, criticism needs context, but design is more than simply opinion. Yeah, and a lot of times it also means that I know you're being sarcastic with that. Your editor must love you. The other thing about ignoring negative comments is that some people don't know the inner workings. So an example would be like I don't understand why you don't have like speed factor for your weapon system in your game. And it could be because it will affect too many other things. It could be speed of the game itself. It could be adding speed factor for weapons, but not adding it for magic might throw your system off. So a lot of times also people don't know what's going on in the back room. Yeah, Anon says the term sim light is a brilliant branding move and will be first and foremost associated with broken empires. I agree with you. And I think it's brilliant too, because just me having never used the term sim light encompasses a thing that I've thought about. And I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think I love you. I think you're also being sarcastic here when you say your editors must love you. Um, yes and no, because Rob is our editor. He lives in Quebec, by the way, and he had to learn the way I write, and once he learned it, he realized what my point was and could then edit it down to what I was trying to say. And he also knows that I'm an outline writer, so I like bullet points and outlines, and then expanding off of those out of the outline, and expanding off of that, and then expanding off of that to get the word points in. And he's noted sometimes, like he's like, dude, you could take this whole chunk, separate it out of this section, and make it its own section. And I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, having a good editor, and the fact is I don't really have an ego, so sometimes we artists can get our feelings hurt, and that's a terrible thing. Architect, not a gardener. So you're a setup man. Often the setup is the best thing about a movie or novel. Fleshing out the world the plot takes place in can be more interesting than the plot itself. Yeah. I'm very much an architect. I love how things are done as much as the thing being done itself. Right. Um, Yeah, like when it comes to not novels, when it comes to television shows and movies, when I love the details of like a character a character that has burn marks on their fingertips, and you realize that they're like maybe a smoker or they flick their lighter a lot, and someone would have had to, or someone noted this in there's the current a Netflix movie, Rebel Ridge. So in the Netflix movie Rebel Ridge, Don Johnson plays a backwater uh, sheriff, and in his back pocket he had a can of chew. You know, the stuff that you stick into your gum and you chew on and spit it out, and it's always kind of nasty. And the back pocket of his jeans had a circular indentation of a person who always puts the can of chew in their back pocket. And normally when actors are given their costumes, they're just brand new outfits. Someone had to think, this guy always puts the chew in his back pocket, we need to rub the jeans so that they are worn, because this guy always does that with his jeans. It's a very minor detail, but it really sets it up, and I love details like that. So before we get out of here, this last one right here, be value added. This goes back to the negative comments. This goes into the my point about criticism. This goes to my point about being honest. I guess this should have been the last thing, or maybe the first thing. This goes to the point about being collaborative. Be value added, which means that even if you don't know a thing, even if you're not skilled at a thing, even if you can't meet deadlines, no matter what happens, try to be value added. It can be difficult because you're like, what does that even mean? But being value added means that your presence is more beneficial to the project you're doing and the people you're associating with than if you're not there. That is difficult to be, especially if you're like an introvert. I've broken out of my introversions, although I can fall back into that category pretty easily. And many of us tabletop role players are in that category. But also being value added doesn't mean you're loud. It means your presence brings it brings energy, it brings comfort, it brings no stress, it brings knowledge. So an example would be, maybe you are very good at finding references, and no, you don't know what they're talking about, but you can find the book that it's in. Hey guys, I know what you're referencing. There's this other game. I know this writer. This writer would love to work with you guys. Maybe you're someone who, you're like one of those you get one of those producer credits because you hooked up 2 or more people together to get them to do a thing. Hey guys, I know someone who would be willing to put artwork for this book at a very cheap, if not free cost, if you just ask them. Or you're someone that's like, we don't know what to call these NPCs. Can you come up with some names? Sure can. And you're like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'll do that. I'll do that for them. Or, oh man, we need to put another social media post out there, and you volunteer and go, look, I'm on Reddit all the time. I'll do that thing for you. Right? It could be even something simple as, patting people on the back. Hey guys, I loved what we just did, or I respect what you know what, I read all your books, and I just wanted to point out I really love this thing. I think you're going down the right path with this. Or telling someone, don't just ignore what they have to say. They're not your fans. They're not part of this thing. Just keep your mindset. It could be something like that. It could even be someone who's very flexible. I know this is the second time we had to cancel a Zoom meeting. Is there any way we can make it up? And you go, no big deal. We'll hook up next week, right? No problem. No big deal. I've got something else I can do as well. Tell you what, I'll write a couple of more pages, see what you think. I'll send it to your email. We'll do a thing. If maybe you're just very, very accommodating, be value added. And that is something, that is how great creators tend to rub people the wrong way if they aren't with the team. That's why there are some actors in television and movies that are notorious for having a terrible attitude. They are the best. But after a while, people are like, I don't want to work with you any longer. Like you, like you know. And yes, maybe working with them is good because they have, I don't know. Let me pick with somebody that I don't know and have no relationship with. Matt Colville. Maybe working with them is like the worst. And I go, F this dude, right? But he has enough following, meaning people that are working with him full time, that they are there of their own accord. Now, it could be for the money. It could be. But maybe there's something about people that seem to rub us the wrong way that make them value added. Now, eventually, some of those people, their attitudes come out, and you go, and in hindsight, you go, yeah, I kind of saw that from a distance. They were arrogant, or they were hard to work with, or what have you. But the best people to work with are those that are value added. So I'm gonna end it at that. Don't forget the hubris of some. Yeah. So funny. So, yes. So Sophie, she tends to sleep in the living room now. I don't get it. She doesn't come up as much anymore. Yeah, being value added is the base rule for playing an RPG in the first place, in my humble opinion. Hell yeah. And like I said, being value added doesn't necessarily mean you have to be loud and obnoxious and upfront. Not obnoxious, but boisterous. Maybe you're just a pleasant person to be around. Maybe you're someone that just, you're funny enough, or you add in your 2 cents just enough, and this person goes, dude, you gotta be with this. Hey, young lady, I gotta have you on the team. And you might even be questioning yourself, like, why? And you're like, you're just a positive attitude. Like, you're always encouraging the best out of us. We need you here to do this thing. And you go, oh, okay. Yeah, Trevor's enthusiasm is infectious. Wish I could mark it like that. Yes, he is an expert at the positivity of the challenge of being challenged on his sim light thing, right? Because there's some people there were just like, so what is this game again? Because I don't get it. And he's like, guys, and he does his voices, and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I feel that. Yeah, dude. Yeah, you be successful. Even if I'm like, would I ever play Broken Empires? Maybe not. But I'm like, dude, you deserve the success. So yeah, I'm with you on that. I stopped collaborating as the design community has become venomously political. That is perfect comment, because while you may feel strongly about one type of political viewpoint or another, even though, like, say, gender has nothing to do with politics, to be honest with you, I don't know why we mixed the two, but those are things, right? Well, because people are trying to politicize it and turn things into laws and whatnot. Yeah, your attitude about those things can rub people the wrong way, and people won't want to work with you. That is a great point. I love it. Yep. Don't start with hamburger. Try to make cupcakes. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, but I'm with you, Daryl. Don't forget the hubris. Sometimes people think that they're more popular than they are, or that their opinion matters more than others. And I'm going to pick with Matt Colville, even though I don't know the man, but I'm doing this as an example. Matt Colville rubs people sometimes the wrong way because of because he has come across as a person who thinks he knows better than other people and rubs people the wrong way. So yeah, and mind you, it could be a persona that he creates, right? His YouTube channel, which he's not as prolific as he used to be, can come across that way as well. Yeah, the personal is political. Yep. Well, I guess my definition of political is literally like law, like making laws and politics itself, rather than I don't know, the categories we like to back ourselves into nowadays, which is wild to me, but whatever. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. Thank you guys for being value added, to be honest with you, whether you think so or not. I really appreciate that. Lastly, yeah, these Abominations. It was a book, but it was a book. It is a book. Let's see. It's got to be some great artwork in here. I'm going to show off. Where's a great lich? Let's see if we get it and leave it on the page. Oh, there's a woman in here. That's kind of cool. Yeah, if there's a flag, it's political. Yeah, you're right. Okay, where is she? Here she is. Oh man, Dell says you rock. No, don't you dare. Also, I see my design work as my contribution to peg the patriarchy. Ouch. Oh man. Oh man, the abrasive persona. Yeah, Steve Albini did that one to death back in the 80s, hung it up 20 years ago, and everybody couldn't believe he was a super nice guy. Yeah. There was another rock person that came across that way. I can't remember his name. Shit. Yeah, I can't remember his name. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. Really appreciate it. Yeah, just wanted to show off some of my, and mind you, I made this list in like, I don't know, 5 minutes or something, off the top of my head, that I little things that I've learned and stuff. I thought I would do that. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, usually it's pretty easy to tell the acerbic shtick is a facade, but some people pull it off so well it becomes ambiguous. Yeah, it almost becomes associated with their attitude. Andrew Dice Clay, that's a comedian that I think has come across that way. Hell, Bill Burr today is kind of like that. People are just like, oh my God, he rubs me the wrong way. Because he's just so. Oh man. Extra good show today. Happy into another segment of eternity. Well, I appreciate it. That takes us out. So guys, have a great weekend. I'm not going to hold you too long. Thank you very much for being part of the show. I'm not going to ask for anything except please join me Monday at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or whatever time it is on your side of the world, and we'll figure out what to talk about for next week as well. So guys, have a great one. I'll see you later. Peace and tranquility. Bye. Have a great weekend. Bye.